There's been another major blow to San Francisco's Union Square. After 20 years, Bloomingdale's announced that it's going to close its store at the San Francisco Center in late spring. The center along Market Street has seen a number of major tenants leave the mall over the years.
So once again, unsurprisingly, in the city of San Francisco, a major retailer that had been there for a very long time is deciding to close their doors due to a combination of factors. However, one of those factors is obviously the blatant criminality and how theft completely goes unpunished in the state of California, and unfortunately the repeal of Prop 47 didn't come fast enough, and they're not able to be saved by it. So yeah, we're going to talk about this today. We're going to have a discussion about it, but before we do, I will remind you that my friend Devin Tracy, his parents lost their home in the California wildfires. He has set up a GoFundMe in order to raise money for them to help them get back on their feet. So if you're a fan of Devin or you want to support a friend of mine and you can contribute, please do. If you can't contribute, that's totally fine, and if you don't want to, I completely understand. But without further ado, let us get into the video.
Grand Vicky, Mayor Daniel Lurie says this is part of a bigger retail trend happening nationwide. It's certainly been true at San Francisco's Center Mall, where we've seen closures with stores like Anthropologie, Nordstrom, and now Bloomingdale's. Customers were still coming and going from the store Monday when Bloomingdale's confirmed the closure to Cron 4. The store has been in the city for nearly 2 decades, and a representative sent a statement leaving the door open for future opportunities.
So look, I want to be 100% real about what is going on with Bloomingdale's and a bunch of other clothing stores across the country, because make no mistake about it, all of this crime and all of this impact that we're seeing in San Francisco is happening in the broader context of a bunch of these major retail giants shuttering locations due to a whole host of factors, including factors that have nothing to do with criminality. In fact, a lot of people are shifting how they're buying clothes to buying them on the internet. A lot of people are buying more cheap clothes, like from Shein.
Boarded up windows and vacant storefronts in San Francisco's largest shopping district give Jessica Lobato an eerie feeling.
It's like a ghost town. There's hardly any stores open.
She says news of Bloomingdale's plans to close is a nail in the coffin for a fashion district Lobato loves.
It's really upsetting because, this is the only nice shopping center that we have in the city.
You wear it once and then it gets destroyed, and then you throw it out and you buy something else for $5. So of course, obviously, the big mega retail giants aren't going to be able to compete fully with that, so we do expect some closures of these stores across the country due to those factors. But I also want to point out that this is in the fashion district of the city of San Francisco. A lot of wealthy people used to be patrons of this store, of this shopping center, and as you heard from that local woman on the street, she called this the only nice shopping center in and around this area, or in the entire city. But in reality, what this is the high-end shopping center, and what we've seen is that a lot of high-end malls with high-end anchor stores have actually been able to weather the storm much, much better than malls that, are anchored by a JCPenney and a Macy's, for instance. Now, of course, this particular mall, we talked about it a number of times, has lost a great number of tenants. They mentioned Nordstrom Rack, they mentioned Michael Kors, but in addition to that, they also lost the Cinemark.
Bloomingdale's is the latest major retailer to announce plans to vacate the struggling San Francisco center. It follows departures from Nordstrom Rack, Michael Kors, and Cinemark.
Now, the reason I mentioned the movie theater in particular is because apparently that is the only movie theater that was left in downtown San Francisco, and it's hard for me to believe that nobody in the city of San Francisco wants to see any movies. I mean, somebody has to be watching all of these weirdo transgender musicals that are going to win all the awards this year, and obviously those people are going to hold strong in downtown San Francisco. But this is what I'm trying to explain to you, is that yes, while there is struggling in the movie theater industry, while there is struggling in retail, the fact of the matter is typically malls like this have been isolated from those struggles. However, what we see in San Francisco is that is not the case. And obviously, as more and more stores close due to the fact that there's criminality going on and running rampant in the city of San Francisco, you see the boarded up windows, and that drives more and more people away. Essentially, they're in the middle of a death spiral. Now, of course, obviously, the higher interest rates making it more difficult for these companies to borrow money in order to maintain operations play a factor. Obviously, the high rents in the city of San Francisco definitely play a factor, but make no mistake about this is due to criminality. And in fact, there's a story out of just last year of a bunch of these different same stores getting robbed in the same day by a band of criminals where no arrests were made, and this is becoming all too common. In fact, I think one of the most famous smash and grab or flash mob robberies in a retail store happened either in a Bloomingdale's, maybe even this Bloomingdale's, or Nordstrom store that had already closed in the city of San Francisco.
Tutankhamun Ikemba, a regular Bloomingdale's customer, sees the vacancy as further evidence of the city's decline.
This is all Bloomingdale that I have on. All this wonderful stuff in Saks Avenue. So, where am I going to find that wonderful stuff now? It's a mess.
Now look, I would be lying to you guys if I didn't tell you that Bloomingdale's, in case you don't know, is incredibly expensive. So this guy saying, all I'm wearing right now is Bloomingdale's, is him flexing his wealth on you, but I want to focus less on that and less on the fact that many of you are probably not feeling all too bad for somebody who can afford to buy all his clothes from Bloomingdale's, and focus on what he said prior to that to the reporter that was communicated to us from her, which is this is more evidence that the city of San Francisco is in decline. And yes, it is evidence that they're in decline because, again, you have a high-end shopping center where wealthy people go. Wealthy people are more likely to do their shopping at these malls because they like the experience, they like the higher customer service. And again, we've seen patterns of the fact that these malls with the high-end stores tend to stay in business longer, while JCPenney anchored stores tend to go out of business. And this one's going out of business one by one, vacancy by vacancy, and it's absolutely tragic. And again, they got rid of their mayor, they got rid of Chesa Boudin prior to that, they got rid of Prop 47, but it doesn't seem like it was done in enough time in order to save these locations, because once you have so many different vacancies and even a high-end mall starts to look abandoned, that is going to push more and more people away. In addition to that, we also discovered from Walgreens, by the way, I've actually covered this even before Walgreens pointed this out, that the different various security measures in order to try to protect merchandise ultimately end up driving customers away from these locations. So essentially the stores are in a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation, because if they don't protect their merchandise, they will be looted out of business. If they try to protect their merchandise, people will feel uncomfortable in the stores. They won't get the same experience. So then they'll go out of business in that way. And the only solution has been, which I've told you time and time again, is for, law enforcement to actually step up and prosecute them. But California and the city of San Francisco for a very long time have made that virtually impossible. And the repeal of Prop 47, which happened in November, isn't going to solve that fast enough because of all the problems that preceded this, and we're going to still see those impacts for quite a bit of time.
However, Bloomingdale's exit doesn't mean the retailer will leave the city for good. In a statement, the company wrote, "We're hopeful to be back to serve the San Francisco community in the future and look forward to introducing new ways to provide enhanced service to our loyal local shoppers." District 3 Supervisor Danny Sauter says the retailer could still reopen in a new location nearby.
So right there, the Bloomingdale says, look, we're not necessarily leaving the city of San Francisco forever. We're not necessarily leaving our wealthy clients forever, but we're leaving the mall. The mall is a dying entity, this particular mall, due to the policies that were put forward by the city of San Francisco. So we're going to get out of here. We may relocate somewhere else, but they're also probably going to try to push more and more for people to shop online, maybe have a smaller storefront. And again, that is just going to lead to more visible decay of the city because nobody is refilling these stores. We have quite a few malls in the city of New York and on Long Island that I will stop by in from time to time. And you know what? One of the things that I'll notice in the better neighborhoods is that when a store goes out of business or closes down, there's somebody else trying to get that coveted real estate because of the foot traffic, because those malls are functioning, because they're in areas where theft isn't allowed to go completely out of control. But guess what? In the city of San Francisco, in the wealthiest area with a wealthy clientele that has random people on the street saying, I bought everything that I'm wearing from this Bloomingdale's, the stores are vacant. They don't get replaced with anything. The mall is dying. The movie theater goes out of business. And guess what? Even though there's no movie theater in downtown San Francisco, nobody steps up to replace that. That is absolutely wild. It's absolute madness. And again, it is an indication of the fact that the criminals are driving people away. Now, people will also say, Sean, they're allowed to do remote work in all these different Silicon Valley companies. Therefore, there isn't the foot traffic because of that. And yes, while that can be true, while it can be a confluence of factors, make no mistake about it, it turns out theft has a huge impact. I know a lot of lefties will cite some study related to a Target or two different Targets in the city of San Francisco and say, hey, they only closed the one with less foot traffic, not the one with more foot traffic and more theft. And obviously, if your sales can outrank the amount of theft that you're experiencing at that location, you can keep it open even if it has elevated levels of theft. Again, we're talking about a theft to sales ratio, and many of these stores cannot deal with the elevated threat. And again, in addition to that, even if people are not looting the Bloomingdale's out of business, the perception of crime and the fact that all these other stores in the mall could be targeted for theft could be driving people away, not to mention the security features and all the different other things that I was talking about. So yeah, another nail in the coffin for the city of San Francisco, and it's a really unfortunate nail because California, at least locally, seems to be voting in the right direction. Again, got rid of Boudin, voted for Prop 47's repeal, and tossed out Mayor London Breed on her ass, but the fact of the matter is, 10 years of Prop 47 has an impact. Decades of Democratic rule and red tape also has an impact, and of course, the state of California completely mismanaging everything, taxing the hell out of people, is obviously going to have an impact. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute disaster that is San Francisco. Till next time.